my gorgeous. Great to see you. Great to be here. Oneness Evolving live on Facebook. And of course, I'm out here. I'm going to show you my garden because my husband is busy waiting for this live to propagate up onto Facebook, and then he's going to share it out. So while I do that, I'm not yet going to talk about the miracle of homeostasis that's happening in your body right now as you're listening to me and as I'm talking to you. I'm going to show you my garden to give it a time for all of that to happen. So, turning the camera around, here's the day. It's cold. Doesn't really look like much, but we do have some flowers, and look at all of this. This is coming up. This is the spring coming. These will be bluebells. And, you know, look at this amazing fuchsia that just keeps on flowering. I mean, it's a bit tatty. It's made it through the winter, but there it is. Excuse me, it's wandering around here. So, yeah, the fuchsia's a little bit tatty and it needs to make some new foliage, and it's been cold, but it hasn't really cared. It just carries on. Oh, and look, this is exciting. These are, I was wondering when these were going to come up. These are dog-toothed violets. And I moved them from somewhere else. You can see the gardener in me always wants to tidy up. I moved them from somewhere else, and I spread them out. And this is the first year that they'll have just been in peace and not smothered, excuse me, by something else. So they'll actually get to really grow. So that's exciting to me because they got a pretty flower. My roses need pruning. There's all kinds of stuff that I've been doing in the back garden. So not much has happened here. But the back garden really needed the work. This is Lotus Lake, and it's not flowering. It's a pelargonium. But look at the leaves. Just got to get a bit closer. I love these. I love the colours on them. It is just, and the design, you know, the design, the colours, the shapes. I really appreciate foliage that persists through winter, because that is just, you're never short of it. And look, the violets are flowering. I planted these. I moved them from somewhere else. And they are flowering, and you can see back there's more of them. Trying to get them to cover the ground. They do actually make a really good ground cover. And right in the middle of winter, look, we still have coriander that's doing its wonderful thing. I love coriander. It's beautiful to eat, but it's beautiful when it flowers. So, there's a lot of wintry looking stuff. But look, spring is starting to happen. The cineraria are starting to bud, and there's one over. I'll just enjoy the green of the sporaxis. I mean, look at that. That's going to explode into colour very soon. But over here, the first cineraria is flowering. And that's always exciting because the colour is starting to explode. Hi, Lisa Louise. It's lovely to see you. The colour is starting to explode in the garden, and it won't be long before it's all happening. And in here, because I planted them too close to the cinerarias, there's something here that's going to have beautiful white flowers on. It's just little green buds at the moment. Can't really see. But I'm looking forward to seeing those. So I picked a few leaves off the back of these cinerarias just so they get some light. And you have to imagine the most beautiful smell right now, because I can smell it. These pompon white violets just make a beautiful smell, and oh my god, can you see I have been busy in the back garden, and this thing's grown into them a lot. I'm probably going to have to dig the whole lot up, clean them out, and push them back in again, because that stuff is really hard to get rid of. So anyway, that's just what happens. I'd show you the back, but the Wi-Fi'd crack up. I've done a lot of pruning. But I'm just showing you the hen and chicken fern right now because it's lovely. But here's the pruning I did. And in fact, I got my arborist to come. This is only about half of it because he took the stuff away that is hard to mulch. So this is the easy mulching pile. And it's just got to dry a bit, and in spring on a good dry day, I'll be turning that into mulch. So I'm excited about that. And thank you, Lisa Louise. I love this garden too. It's lots of work, but it gets me outside. Oh, there's something else I can show you before I go. It gets me outside, and I love the flowers. So here we go. One more when the slow connection thing goes away. I don't know why that keeps coming up. Here we go. Turn the camera around. So the freesias are just beginning. And hello, beautiful people. It is great to see you coming on. We've got freesias and we've got sedum all coming up to flower. So that's going to be exciting. Look at that. There are the buds. And see my calendula that's been flowering all year and making... You can eat these, so I've been using them in my husband's salads. But look, I've got a new one, so I'm actually going to have to take that one out because it's finished. And look, the mascari, the grape hyacinths are starting to flower now too. And look at that spiral shape. You see that shape everywhere. I haven't done it very well because this is a bit squashy, but there's a spiral here, and then there's another spiral here. I planted spirals in my garden, so... Welcome aboard. I'm just going to walk back up and the slow connection thing keeps coming up at the bottom. There we go. I can turn the camera around now. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Hit the wrong button. Right. Let's go inside and I'll tell you about the amazingness of homeostasis. Don't be put off by that, I don't know, Latin sounding word, medical sounding word, complicated sounding word. It is an amazing, amazing thing. Homeostasis is incredible. And you may or may not know, let me just organise myself here, that I've been writing about the process of us changing ourselves and how we feel, because that was kind of impossible and I didn't know you can do it. I didn't know how to do it for many years. And then I started to learn. And I've become so passionate about this information, then I started writing. And I'm writing, I don't think it's going to be a book, although it may end up in a book. This is going to be something that will be delivered online and it'll be experiential and you can learn and you can practice and try things out. But at the moment I'm just writing. And I'm writing about why it's so damn hard to change and why it's so damn hard to feel better when you feel like shit. And one of the reasons, and last week, I went through, excuse me, I've just got to have the clock where I can see it so I don't wrap it on forever. Last week I went through a whistle-stop tour of everything I've written up till now, which was amazing because it's covered a lot of ground. And I wrote that summary last Wednesday morning, and now it's this Wednesday morning. And when I went through the summary last week, I found a gap. And the gap that I found was this topic that I actually managed to write about and more or less finish. I'll tidy it up next week. But it was homeostasis. Because one of the things that happens is that when we think and feel a certain way for a long period of time, we change our body. It's just a fact. It's what happens. If you think sad thoughts for a long period of time, when you think a thought, your brain makes a neurotransmitter, and the neurotransmitters go to, what is it, the hypothalamus? And the hypothalamus is that sends information to the pituitary gland. I still haven't got this all completely right, but never mind, I'm human. The point is that there is a cascade that goes from your thought to the chemical brain in the middle of your head, and then the chemical brain sends information to your body. And it goes to the hormonal centers, it goes to your immune system, it goes to your musculoskeletal system, it goes everywhere. And it gives you feelings that match the thought you just had. But the thing is that chemistry, if you keep on thinking and thinking and feeling the same thing over and over again, that chemistry changes how your cells function. Because your cells have receptors on them. And if you keep bombarding the same receptor with the same chemistry over and over again, that receptor gets tired. It can't maintain itself. It doesn't have time to recover in between being hit with the same chemical, and it wears out, and our cells start to malfunction. And they actually memorize the very thing. I mean, if you're just feeling sad all the time and don't want to feel sad, our cells actually memorize that. Chemically. It's memorized in our body. And we want to feel differently, and we want to stop feeling pain, be it physical or emotional. We want to get better, but our immune system's been suppressed for 10 years. Why? How is it that it gets like that? What's that about? And so I wrote about all this thing of peptides and receptors and how the receptors, the receptors, when they get activated, they send a message to our DNA, and our DNA makes a protein, and all our body's made of proteins. And if the receptor gets tired and it breaks, maybe that signal just doesn't go into the cell, or it does go into the cell to make a protein, but the signal is faulty. And so you get a not so good protein, and then your body breaks down. And the whole thing is memorized because we've thought and felt and thought and felt and thought and felt the same blinking way for however long it took for ourselves to finally get sick and break down and, tra-la-la. And it doesn't matter whether it's just habitual or you have something awful happen to you and then you get stuck in the memory of that. It doesn't matter how awful it was. It's still just it's brutal physical fact. If we get stuck in an emotional state, we will change our body, period. Good news, the bad news. It's good news because if you understand that, you at least have a fighting chance to make a change. But the reason why it's so hard to change is homeostasis. And that was the thing that I needed to explain. So, what the heck is homeostasis when it's at home anyway? And the funny thing is, I remember this months ago, whenever it was, I remember thinking, I should write about homeostasis. And I went, that's too hard. And it was just too hard to try and figure out how to write about homeostasis. But when I wrote the summary last week, and then only when I read it out, I thought, oh my God, there's a gap here. I have to write about this. So this week I wrote about it. So of course, I went to the interweb and I said, well, what is homeostasis? And really, in essence, it is our body's ability to adapt to whatever the heck is going on around us. That doesn't sound like much, right? Well, but think about it. You get cold, your body shivers. It knows to shiver or to put on more clothes or to go somewhere where it's warmer. All survival strategies to avoid dying of cold. If you get hot, your body seeks shade. You just know to do these things because the body wants to stay at a stable temperature that is its best operating temperature because it wants to be well and strong and healthy and survive. So, it's just obvious. And by the same token, if we have been in a habit of feeling and thinking and behaving, even, someone who's just perpetually angry all the time, they're just angry at everybody, and everything that happens in their world is another excuse for them to feel angry. It is their homeostasis to feel angry. It is normal. It is what they've used to survive. Maybe they had to be angry to overcome bullies when they were younger, when they were small, when they were vulnerable. So they had to fight. It just became a habit. And now, because they did that for such a long time, that their body's used to angry chemistry. And so the body says, well, I've got to keep finding reasons to be angry because I need this chemistry now. I need those angry neuropeptides to signal the angry chemicals so that I can work. If I don't feel angry, I can't work. Actually, the body can work, but it's got to change. And our bodies resist change. They like to stay in homeostasis, whatever that is. And homeostasis can be bloody horrible if that's just what your body's gotten used to. But it resists the change because that's what it's used to. And our bodies are programmed to keep everything the same because that's how they know to survive. So homeostasis is great because it keeps us alive. But if our homeostasis is that I feel sick and I feel awful all the time, then you've got to realize it's going to take more than effort to change it. It's going to feel really bad because your body's saying, hang on, this is what I'm used to. You want me to go somewhere else that is going to feel uncomfortable. I'm going to fight you with every thought that I can find that says, don't do this. This feels wrong. I hate this. This person's speaking rubbish, or that product or that journey or whatever it is I want to do. No, just no. And I've been there myself. I didn't understand when I wanted to change how I felt that the reason why I got angry when I started to even think about doing positive affirmations, which I don't really, whatever, didn't understand a lot back then. But I got angry when I tried to do positive affirmations because my body was really used to feeling sad and it did not want to change. And so I was like, oh, this is bullshit. And I would just feel angry for no reason. My body said, you are used to feeling sad, you stay there. You were used to feeling pain, you stay there. Because it's what I'm used to. Not what I liked, but it was what I was used to. So it's going to feel bad, uncomfortable, and painful and difficult to make that change. And for some of us, like me, it was like 50 years of being miserable. You got to understand that if you've been miserable, and by the way, it was nobody's fault. I did not have a whole lot of traumatic stuff in my past. I think I inherited a genetic tendency to whatever. And of course, you're overcoming a genetic program. That's not easy. But when I started to learn about this and understand about it, it's like it's taken 5 years for me to really start to notice. For me to really feel like I've significantly changed, but I was changing all along and I was noticing benefits all along. But just, be realistic. If you've been the way you've been for a long time, if you had trauma early in life or you had severe trauma and you really got stuck in it, it's a journey. But you got to understand that change is going to be uncomfortable because your body is in a chemical homeostasis and it wants to stay there because it thinks that that's survival. If you're used to feeling like a victim to survive, and if you're used to behaving like a victim to survive, your body will want you to keep doing that, even if you decide that you want to do and be and feel something else. So it's a catch-22. We need it. It's amazing. It's a miracle. And I promised I'd talk about what the miracle is. Well, the miracle is that homeostasis is our body's ability to self-regulate, to keep everything the same. Even if it's, snowing one day and sunshine the next, if someone's screaming at us one day, if somebody's loving us the next, emotional, physical, if we get sick, if we are well, all of those things, our body maintains a chemical and temperature and all kinds of other things balance so that we survive all of that. And that's homeostasis. And homeostasis involves 3 big systems in our body. It involves our whole body, really. But there are 3 main systems in our body that interact constantly, always talking to each other every moment in hundreds and thousands and millions and gazillions of ways. Our nervous system, our endocrine system, and our immune system. And the nervous system, of course, I've talked about quite a lot because understanding our 3 brains and how we think and how our thoughts make chemicals and all that, I've talked about that quite a lot. So I don't need to write too much about the nervous system. We have a nervous system and it processes the information that comes in from our senses. We use it to do that, to make sense of it, and so that we can respond. We can move our body or take an action or not based upon the information that comes in through our senses. Our nervous system helps us do that, amongst other things. Our endocrine system, I haven't mentioned it all. And I avoided talking about it because I was keeping things simple. To begin with, I didn't even mention peptides, never mind hormones. I just talked about chemicals. But when you have a thought, you make a chemical, and the chemical is a neurotransmitter. And the neurotransmitter goes to another part of your brain, and there is a peptide, which is a short-chain amino acid, less than 200 amino acids, woohoo. Who knew that they got longer than that? And those peptides go to your body, and they dock into receptors on cells, and we talked about how the cells can get tired if they keep on getting hammered with the same chemistry. They dock into the receptors, and if those receptors happen to be on an endocrine cell, well then that endocrine gland, if lots of cells of an endocrine gland get the same signal, well they're going to secrete hormones. And very often it is our thoughts that create the peptide neurotransmitters and the peptides that go and signal our hormonal centers, and it's our hormonal centers that make us feel the way we do. Really. So, you have a thought, it turns to matter in your body through your endocrine system. And an endocrine gland, hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal, thyroid, parathyroid, adrenals, pancreas, and testes or ovaries, right? That's our endocrine system, but they are all of those glands secrete hormones that go to other parts of our body and turn them on or off. And our thoughts and feelings turn those hormonal centers on and off. So you see how powerful our thoughts and feelings are. So that's just a real short summary of our endocrine system. And why I didn't talk about hormones, because it's quite a chain reaction, and I wanted to introduce each piece one at a time because it's a lot. Otherwise you get confused. And the last piece, which I haven't talked about hardly at all, is the immune system. Our immune system. I looked it up and thought, oh my God, it's so complicated. I mean, really. You think the immune system is amazing. You think the endocrine system is amazing. Go look at the immune system. It's just through our whole body. There's all these glands. There's the bone marrow. There's the white blood cells. There's the thymus. There's the all the lymph nodes and the lymph channels, and there's this thing called the complement system, which runs around and picks up stuff that's been destroyed when it was an invader and now it's dead, and the complement system tidies it up. It's just mind-blowing, and I, at this point in time, am not going there, because while our thoughts and our endocrine system influence our immune system, and our immune system influences all of those too, they're all communicating all the time. It's not quite so practically applicable to our process of change. What you need to understand, though, is that our immune system only has a certain amount of energy. I mean, everything in our body has a certain amount of energy available to run. And if we, through our thinking and feeling constantly, are staying in a state of fight or flight or flee or whatever, we're stressed. In other words, we're in the survival response. The immune system actually it dials up for a short period of time. It goes up. When we go into a stress response, our immune system gets pushed up. But then it drops down, because all of our energy is going into surviving, and so it should. What's supposed to happen is that the stress goes away and we relax, and then our immune system comes up again. But if we never get to do that, our immune system doesn't get to come up. Now our immune system is suppressed. So our immune system is so busy being in survival, anticipating, not even having to deal with it, but anticipating infection or injury, that it can't maintain the cells in our body. Because our immune system broadly does two things. One, it looks after what we've already got and keeps it healthy and all good. And two, it recognizes invaders and fights them off. And if there's injury, it heals it. That's what our immune system does. But if you're in fight or flight, if you're in survival, the immune system is like, oh, it's not a time to heal anything. It's a time to survive. There's a tiger, got to run away. I'll heal the injury later. So it diverts energy. There's two ways that our immune system can operate. It can be in fight or flight, or rest and digest and heal. You can't have both. It just isn't possible. So in that way, you can see that if our thoughts and feelings are continually in this negative or whatever it is loop, we're going to get sick. And if our thoughts and feelings, we manage to change so that they become more whatever it is they need to be. I hate to say that positive word. I mean, positive, yes, but what does that actually look like? Most people think it's, I feel fantastic. I've been learning that's not the case. It's much more inward and much more, it's got to be sustainable. I'm not going to be, I feel fantastic all the time, but to feel at peace and feel at whole and feel good in myself all the time, that's different. That's actually achievable. That can be sustainable. And if I'm in that state, my immune system is up. It's not going, there's a tiger I have to run away from. It's like, oh, I'm safe. I can heal. So all of these things, our nervous system sees a threat, needs to run away. Our endocrine system responds to that threat. It's got to produce the things to help us run away. Because if we run away, then we can come back to homeostasis afterwards. Our immune system is going to deal with things. And when we're responding to stress, all of those things go out of balance to help us respond. But the point is they come back to our set point afterwards. That's our homeostasis. Our homeostasis is, I eat a certain amount of food, I drink a certain amount of water, I am in a certain kind of temperature, I'm with these certain kinds of people, I have the same kinds of emotional or intellectual or whatever it is interactions. Homeostasis in our body is chemical and neurological and immunological and all of that stuff. But it's a product of how we respond to our environment. And if our homeostasis is in a certain place and we've been living a happy life and everything's good, and then we have a bad experience and then after that we're different, our homeostasis is going to be changed. And to heal, It's not just our body that has to heal. We actually have to change the homeostasis too. We have to change what's normal for us. And that's why it's so hard to change. It was a revelation to me to understand, okay, it's really hard to change because of that. And the longer I've been like that, the more hard it might just be. And that it's okay that it's hard and that there'll be argument and I'm going to hate it sometimes and find it really, really difficult. All of that. It's because of homeostasis. And it's memorized. It's memorized in our body and in our brain. We need to, it's like, that was dangerous. I need to resist that and hate it and be angry and fearful or whatever it is because I don't want it to happen again. Well, yeah, but then I keep on being in that state and that's not good for my body. What am I going to do? I have to change. If I want it to be different, I have to change. So that's my rave about homeostasis. It's challenging. It's challenging, but I also find it freeing. I found it so valuable to understand, okay, this is memorized in my body, and that's why it's hard to change. And, okay, it's going to be uncomfortable, and sometimes really uncomfortable. And that's all right. If I have the tools, I haven't done the tools yet, but I'm still explaining. If that's how it is, okay, at least I understand that. You're welcome, Lisa Louise. I know it's challenging, right? It really is. But you got to understand the pain of change is the pain of change. You're changing, and so it's uncomfortable. Hi, Mike. I got to finish. I know I've been rabbiting on for nearly half an hour. But this, I just find this so good to understand. So good to understand. So stick around. Watch out for my posts from God of Me. There's more happening on Patreon. I will absolutely admit that I've started slowly, but that's because I'm creating a new homeostasis for myself and I have to do it sustainably. I don't want to, go off like a rocket and then have nothing left. So I'm sharing week by week. I'm sharing experiences from my own growth, my meditation journal. Like I'm finding something that actually makes enough sense that I can share it with you. And I'm going to share that with my patrons. And my weekly chapter readings are now available to anybody who follows me for free. You will get to, if you go to Patreon, you can listen. It won't be today, it'll be in a couple of days. You can listen to me and watch me read what I wrote today. Because I want to share this process with you. And I don't know what's coming next, but it will evolve. Because this is a journey, and I love this information, and I want people to have it. And I want people to be able to pay for it and get something really good for a good price. And I want people to be able to access it for free who has no way to pay at all. And that's my passion. So, until then, I send you lots of love and look forward to catching up with you again next week. Bye-bye.